All right. Good evening, everybody. Good evening. Tuesday, July 1st, 7:30. We're going live tonight. Felt like we should go live again. Did a show this morning. Had the show at 8 a.m. So obviously did what we needed to do there. But just too many things going on. I feel like the moment I log off, there's other stuff to talk about. So I'm like, all right, let's wait till a little bit later tonight and let's at least get another video up. So I'm looking forward to doing this. I do got some topics. I do think some things have changed. I know nothing official with the Lakers, but a lot of chatter, a lot of rumors, a lot of conversation. So we'll spend some time on it. Thank you for being here. I appreciate you guys being a part of the channel. If you guys don't mind subscribing to the channel, would greatly appreciate that. Just got over 32,000 subscribers. We want to obviously keep working towards what's the next number? I don't know, 33,000, 35,000, whatever it is. But certainly want anybody that comes on here to hopefully subscribe to the channel. So part of the reason why I'm also doing a show tonight, there are some topics I want to get into, topics right here, which I'll give you a quick preview. Tomorrow I'm still doing my show at 8 a.m., but I have a guest tomorrow. Bobby Marks confirmed for tomorrow. So Bobby Marks is going to join the show. You guys know, front office insider for ESPN, phenomenal. Really appreciative of his time. So because he's going to be on, I'll probably have less that I'll do, obviously, because I'll have a guest on. So keep that in mind for tomorrow. Quick rundown, couple things that we're going to get into, just kind of talking about the latest of where we are. The latest on Deandre Ayton. I don't know if this is just, it could be one of two ways. I'd be surprised if Deandre Ayton doesn't end up with the Lakers, but I also know there's other teams more than the Lakers that are going after him. So it's not like the Lakers are a guaranteed or a lock. This morning we talked about he was in the Bahamas. He was rocking an LA hat. It was a Dodger hat. So I'm assuming he's doing that, and there's a reason why he's doing that. But I also know other teams are going to be able to offer him more money. So we'll talk the latest on Deandre Ayton. I think that's an interesting conversation. You type Deandre Ayton in your Google search, and you're going to get Boston, potential shot at Deandre. Golden State Warriors interested in Deandre. It's not just the Lakers, so something to keep in mind in regards to that. Potential trades for a big. So there was a tweet that was sent out that had 3 different bigs on there as far as names go, potential for the Lakers. I gotta be honest, some of the names that are on there I think are very interesting. I think that they kind of fit the mold of, not all of them are interesting, but some of them are interesting. Some of them fit the mold of a young center, somebody that can work potentially well with Luka, that's at the right age. Others I'm not that crazy about, so we'll get into those. Al Horford chatter, Al Horford conversation, that's going to be in there as well as he looks to make a decision as well where he's going to go. I want to spend a quick second on Pelinka and his offseason. Is Pelinka playing chess when everyone's playing checkers, or is Pelinka just playing checkers? I think I could lean one way, but he still has time to show that he was playing chess. But he could also very easily just be playing checkers. So we'll spend a little bit of time on Rob Pelinka. I think people are going to have their opinion, obviously, on Pelinka up to this point, and certainly have their thoughts on Rob Pelinka. He's got a couple of days before a lot of people start churning on him and kind of what the game plan is. I got to be honest, there's some things that he hasn't done that I'm okay with. I mentioned this to Dorian Finney-Smith, not signing him to a 4-year deal. I'm okay with that. Jake LaRavia, I think a cheaper, younger option. Okay. Lakers want to make sure that they got some flexibility moving forward. They don't want to pay Dorian Finney-Smith till he's 36 years old. I'm okay with that. But it's the big situation that the Lakers are running into. It's the over-promising and under-delivering, but he still got time. It's only July 1st. If we're 4 or 5 days from, if I'm sitting here on, what's July 4th? Is that on Friday? If I'm doing a show on Saturday and they still got some big issues, then that's a different conversation. I was listening to the Zach Lowe podcast, and they were having an interesting conversation about LeBron. I want to spend a quick second on that. Some of the different scenarios that can still play out. Some of the scenarios that will not happen because that would only benefit LeBron and would not benefit the Lakers, which would be a buyout. We'll spend some time on that as well, so we'll do all that. And then just some quick thoughts. When I was doing my show live earlier, that's when the Miles Turner thing went down, and I really didn't get a chance to give my thoughts on it. Things are happening live is just kind of so out of left field that now that the dust has settled, I could give a little bit of an opinion on it. We'll do that as well. So thank you for being a part of the show, and please subscribe to the channel. Okay. Latest on Deandre Ayton. I'm just going to read a couple of things, and this was a little bit earlier, well after my show was done, but I can at least just kind of catch up and go from there. Let me make sure on one thing here. And if you guys got comments, I will definitely, do my best to get to some of your comments as the show progresses. So we'll definitely keep an eye out on that. Dan Wyke sent out a tweet. This was, I don't know, maybe around noon or so. Sources tell me that in addition to Deandre Ayton, the Lakers are still evaluating other options in free agency via trade. Obviously, a crucial decision for the Lakers. Would expect an answer in the upcoming days. Not this, crazy update, but Lakers still weighing Deandre Ayton. And frankly, I think DeAndre Ayton is also kind of weighing his decisions. I mentioned this yesterday. I had a conversation with Eric Pincus, and the most the Lakers can offer him is about $8 million. So just keep that in mind. That's the most that the Lakers can offer him. A few things happened today, which could kind of shift some of these teams out there, their interest in DeAndre Ayton. I don't know if the Indiana Pacers knew they were going to lose Miles Turner today. I don't know. He went and got paid 4 years, $107 million with the Milwaukee Bucks. Do they now say, hey, let's take the money that we can? The most some of these teams I think can offer is about 14. That's that mid-level exception. Well, there are teams out there, they're going to make a pitch to DeAndre Ayton saying, hey, I know we're not the Lakers. I know Luka's not on our team, blah, 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 whatever some of the reasons are for the Lakers to try to get DeAndre Ayton. But they could just straight say that they got more cash. And the question is going to be for DeAndre Ayton, is there a situation that's out there that's more valuable to him, including cash, than a team like the Los Angeles Lakers that's going to get a ton of exposure? You get a chance to play with Luka, and they desperately, desperately need a big. I don't know if there's a better situation than the Lakers personally for DeAndre Ayton, because he'll get the exposure, final year of his contract. Lakers are on nationally televised games. Luka's going to serve up so many things on a silver platter for you. But what he may just very well say is, Boston, you got more money. Golden State, you're desperate for a big. What's your finances look like? Indiana, you just lost Miles Turner. What kind of fit can I be for the Indiana Pacers, and what do the finances look like? It could very well just come down to finances. It could very well just come down to, well, okay, that Pacers situation, they just came out of the Eastern Conference Finals. They really need me since Miles Turner is gone. The East is a lot easier path than the Western Conference in LA. I'm going to have so much pressure on me. There are going to be so much lights on me. If I don't perform the way I'm supposed to perform, people are going to bitch and complain. Like this podcast, people will find ways to obviously to criticize my game. Those are some of the things that he has to weigh. I still think that part of the reason why the Lakers maybe struck out on a Brook Lopez or a Clint Capella, I could be wrong on this. Name some of these other bigs that have gone to other situations and other predicaments. I still think part of those reasons are that the Lakers got to feel pretty good that maybe a week ago they didn't know DeAndre Ayton was going to be available. And then all this happened and their attention shifted to DeAndre Ayton. Listen, I don't think DeAndre Ayton is going to be some savior. I think he's going to have a lot to prove as well. Go read some of these articles from the Portland Trailblazers about DeAndre Ayton and his attitude and their frustration with him. It wasn't all roses in Portland with their time with DeAndre Ayton. So he's got a lot to prove as well, and he's got to kind of clean up a little bit of the reputation that he's left behind. I guess the question is just going to come down to, does he want what comes with the Los Angeles Lakers? Because it's a lot. It's a lot. Doesn't matter the player you are. I mean, Austin Reeves can average you 26-5, and I'd say 70% of Laker fans are like, ship his ass. He wasn't good enough in the playoffs. An undrafted player, 26-5, self-made in the NBA through the Lakers organization, and a large percentage like not good enough, get rid of him. That's what comes with a Laker jersey. Whether it's fair, whether it's unfair, that just kind of comes with the territory. So the latest we have on DeAndre Ayton, at least from when I did the show this morning, There have been other things that developed. He is tied to a few teams. Let me actually see. There was an article that I was looking at before we started. Sports Illustrated. Celtics among top landing spots for X top pick. They're obviously talking about DeAndre Jordan. And the teams that they put out there, just going to list out every team that they put out there in regards to that. They put out the Lakers, the Pacers, the Warriors. Those were the three main teams, and then the Boston Celtics. So he's got decisions to make, and frankly, it's going to be up to him. When you get bought out, you're a free agent. You get to now go pick and choose. And if it just comes down to finances, then it just comes down to finances. If the Lakers do end up with DeAndre Ayton, I think there's a breath of fresh air. I think people can kind of have a little bit of a sigh of relief because there is at least some representation of a big man. And then we could start getting into, is this the right guy? Will he be able to deliver for the Lakers? There's areas of his game that are clearly not strengths compared to other areas of his game that there are strengths. So there's just kind of my latest piece on the Ayton front right there, and wanted to at least share that with everybody before we start looking at some of the potential trades that the Lakers can make. And that was certainly part of the chatter here over the last couple of hours. Let me read some of your comments here, because it's also nice to get a little bit of a perspective from fans, and what it is that they want to see and why they like one player over another. So let's take a look at a couple of these here. As long as Ayton has money as a motivation, we should give him since we can give him the most exposure as an upcoming free agent. It's a win-win. A lot of players have used the Lakers in the past. The Lakers have been used in the past, and I'm sure that's part of their pitch. It's like, hey, sign a 1-year deal with us. And, once you do that, then you're going to have an opportunity to show what you can do. And games are going to be televised, and you're going to get a lot of different opportunities. I think that's very common. I think that's smart, actually, by some of these players, by some of these teams. I really do. I think that's smart of agents to say, hey, come play for the Lakers for some of these reasons. There was an article, and I am just going to point this out in The Athletic. Jason Quick put this out there. And some of the stuff that they have on DeAndre Ayton, like I said, it wasn't the most, they weren't complimenting him in the best of way. I'm going to read something. A team source said there were tantrums in the locker room when he was sidelined for poor effort. Okay, just listen. Nobody needs to get defensive towards it. You want to know the last employer that you were at, the last place that hired you, you do want to reach out and be like, hey, tell me a little bit more about DeAndre Ayton. You can have, there was one quote here, you can have bad plays, but not bad ways. So there's some stuff on DeAndre Ayton. He's going to have to clean up a little bit of his mess, but frankly, I don't think the Lakers are in a position where they can be, obviously too picky in regards to that. All right, let's see what else we got here. Under a magnifying glass in LA. Absolutely. Absolutely, that will come with the territory. Of course, that will come with the territory. And when he plays well, then, people will give him some praise. And then when he doesn't play well, next thing you know, everywhere he looks, there's going to be a media member saying, hey, what happened here? What happened there? He's going to go online, and Laker fans are going to be like, you're trash, this, that. That comes with the territory. I'm not saying that there aren't a lot of fan bases that do that, but it just feels like with the Lakers, there's levels to it. And certainly the Lakers have their own level. Okay. I'm going to read off a tweet here real quick and get this out of the way. I'm going to read off a tweet here real quick because this is more in regards to Laker bigs. So we're going to do that. By the way, I know there's a couple supers out there. Hold up on those. Some of those topics aren't in regards to what I'm getting into, so I'll come back to those. So let me read off a tweet here real quick that I saw. It lists 3 big men. So there's a lot kind of cooking on this tweet here. And this is from Brett Siegel. So let me kind of read off what he says here, because I do think that there's a lot happening here in regards to this tweet. The Lakers have held talks with Phoenix about a Nick Richards trade, league sources tell Clutch Points. LA was a team listed by Mike Scott as having interest in Richards. Team has also called about potential trades, and he put out there Yves Missi as one of those trades, and Robert Williams III trades with the Pelicans and Portland. Those are three bigs right there in this one tweet. So the Lakers have had talks with Phoenix about Nick Richards, and then there's some interest. They've also had calls about potential deals with Yves Missi and Robert Williams III. Okay, let me just kind of go through all three of these players here real quick and give you guys my opinion on it. Now, I think part of the reason why there was some interest in Deandre Ayton and just flat out signing him as a free agent is you thought maybe then you can use some of your assets to go get a wing, and you could save some of these other assets that you have. By the way, I'm not even completely convinced anymore that Dalton Connect is guaranteed to be traded, that future draft picks are guaranteed to be trading. Part of me feels like the Lakers might be pumping the brakes a little bit and just saying to themselves, if this roster doesn't make sense and we don't think we should be chasing something that doesn't exist, I'm starting to think that Pelinka in the front office, maybe new ownership, maybe Jeannie and the rest of, the front office is saying to themselves, let's be very strategic here. And if we don't feel like we're chasing something, we don't want to chase something that's not realistic. And I do feel like there's a little bit of that vibe that I'm getting, but I could be completely wrong. And Lakers come out tomorrow and start trading everything, start trading the farm. Let me go through the three players that are listed on that tweet. Robert Williams. It's one of the players. Do you guys know how many games Robert Williams has played in these last couple of years? Let me give it to you here real quick, okay? By the way, 27 years old, good shot blocker, good size. He is going to defend the rim. He'll definitely catch some lobs. The concept of, what the Lakers have in mind, there's a lot of similarities here with similar to what they were going for with Mark Williams. I do think there's some similarities with all those types of players. Okay. Here are the amount of games that he's played here in these last couple of years. In the 2024-2025 season, he played 20 games. In the 2023-24 season, he played 6 games. In the 2022-23 season, he played 35 games. I'm not telling you Robert Williams isn't a nice player. I'm not telling you that he can't be a good fit for the Lakers. I'm not telling you that he can crash the glass. He can't crash the glass. I'm not telling you that he can't, averaged in the few games that he played, the 20 games he played for Portland this past season, 1.7 blocks. That's a real deal right there. That's a phenomenal average. He's never on the court. That's my concern with Robert Williams. And maybe the Lakers are looking at Robert Williams and saying, look, because maybe he doesn't have as much value because of his injury history, maybe they feel like they don't have to give up a lot to get him, and you could put Robert Williams potentially as a backup center. Okay, let me just use that as an example of one of the players. That's not one that I'm crazy about because of all the things that I just listed. He's not on the floor. Availability is everything, right? So what does it matter? Your best trade is availability. You got to be available. And unfortunately for Robert Williams, that's not the case. Okay, let me kind of go down the list here. Nick Richards. Okay. Some of his strengths, he'll finish around the rim. He'll catch lobs. He'll grab you rebounds. He's a good shot blocker. Definitely a lob threat, high energy type of player. 9 points, 8 rebounds a game. At least that's what he was doing with the Phoenix Suns. About 27 years old. Not about 27 years old. He's 27 years old. Okay, interesting. I don't really. I don't look at Nick Richards, and I say to myself when I see kind of his potential and the Lakers grabbing a player like that. Now, do I think he's going to give you 35 or 28 to 30 minutes a game? Probably not. I don't think that. I don't think I would want that from him. But this is another player that, if you're stuck with a guy like Nick Richards, you're happy about it because you don't have any other options right now. But in a perfect world, a player like that, probably most likely, can you get him coming off your bench? The last player on here, at least from this list of players that are on that tweet, I think the one that's most exciting, I just don't understand why the Pelicans would trade him, to be honest with you. And maybe this is where you got to put together a package that makes it interesting for them. Yves Missi is only 20 years old, 9 points, 8 rebounds, 1.3 blocks per game with the Pelicans. Played 73 games this past season. Obviously, super young, super raw athlete. You know, this dude has a 7'6" wingspan. Definitely a threat. Finishes around the rim. Great potential on the defensive side as well. What do you average blocks wise? I just want to see. Let me double check here. Blocks wise, 1.3 blocks per game. Part of the reason why I really like him is because he is so young and he is so raw, and there is, tremendous upside with him. You really got to sweeten some type of offer probably for the Pelicans if you're going to get a player like that. All three of these players have very similar traits. All three of these players would have potential of obviously being with Luka Doncic, and Luka can do what he does. The only downside to any of these guys is you do have to get them through a trade, where Deandre Ayton, obviously you could just sign and then use some of those other assets to go get a wing or go get other things that you need, backup center, whatever the case is. But I'd say the good news is at least there's things cooking. At least, Pelinka's obviously having conversations with some of these other teams out there to address the needs that the Lakers have. But those are three players that are out there as well. The last player, at least from a big perspective, that I'll point out, Dan Weinke also put out there that Al Horford is also under serious consideration by the Lakers in addition to the Warriors. So, again, a lot of the same people that the Lakers are going after, other teams are going to go after, and add Indiana Pacers to the mix because of what happened with Miles Turner earlier. So those are a few players out there, at least since I did my show, that have some rumors around the Lakers and could potentially find a way on the Lakers. And I've said this for the last couple of days, and I really think this is kind of the theme of all of our conversations. I don't know here's what I can't understand, and this is going to help more on when we have the conversation about Rob Pelinka. One of two things are happening. Either the Lakers have identified who they wanted, and this is just something that's going to take time, or Lakers are striking out left and right. It's one of the two. I got somebody else throwing on here. What about Nick Claxton? Yes, Claxton, that's a name that we've obviously heard for a while now. I don't know what Brooklyn's going to do. They also just drafted 5 first-rounders, and they're going to be in full rebuild mode. And I'm sure they're going to be thinking to themselves, let's just continue to acquire assets and maybe take a similar model as some of these other franchises that completely reboot. And maybe that opens up an opportunity for Nick Claxton. So, yes, Nick Claxton's another name. These were just ones that today were conversations that we saw or tweets that we saw that were immediately associated with the Lakers. Okay. Let me see some of the comments here. I do see a lot of this. Pass on Al Horford, too old. He is old. The only thing I would say about Al Horford, and maybe this is not something that the Lakers need right now because they already got LeBron. They already got, some other players that have been in the league that you feel like are the grown-ups in the room. Horford would probably be a badass locker room guy, a good leader, will give you spot minutes, maybe 15 minutes a game, something along those lines. Clearly would come off the bench. I think a lot of people got a lot of respect for Al Horford and certainly what he was able to do in Boston. Okay. A lot of Horford's too old. Lively ain't going anywhere. And I think they're done. I don't think those two franchises are making a trade, at least not now. I don't think that's going to happen. Claxton with Luka. A lot of people like Nick Claxton. The question's going to be, what are the Lakers going to have to give up? And is Brooklyn going to ask for a lot? What's interesting is if you look at, people have said this before, and we've spent, and I don't know how much I bought into it, but I've heard people say, I've even had this conversation with Trevor Lane and some of the conversations that we've had, and the Laker tax that they're going to have to pay against some of these other teams. And I've always kind of been like, yeah, all right, yeah, maybe that exists, but if two teams want to put together a deal, they're going to put together a deal. And if another team out there feels like the Lakers are giving them a good offer, they're going to make a deal. Maybe there's some teams out there that are enjoying watching the Lakers just sit back here and all these names are dropping and all these names are going, and still the Lakers don't have anybody. I want to have a conversation real quick about Rob Pelinka. Yeah, a lot of people are not in the mood for Horford. Let's see what else we got here. Yeah, they didn't ask for a lot. They're going to be asking for a lot. I'll tell you that much. Let me go with this. The fire Pelinka, please. Can I ask everybody a quick question here? So, by the way, just what we've got into. We got into Ayton a little bit. Al Horford, the bigs through potentially a trade. Ayton and Horford, you could just sign flat out. They're free agents. If you're going to go make a trade, Nick Richards, Robert Williams, Yves Missi. If you're going to make a trade for any of these three players, or if you're going to acquire any of these three players, you're going to have to do it through a trade. So as long as we're all on the same page, that's the way the Lakers would have to acquire them. All right, let me ask some questions about Rob Pelinka. I think I know the answer to this, but I'm going to go ahead and play this out either way. At what point do you start just completely panicking of like, hey, the Lakers had a plan and the plan is just not working at all? To me, it's not on July 1st. It's probably by July 5th. If you get to July 5th and all of a sudden all these names are off the market, DeAndre Ayton, he ended up somewhere else. And then you're looking around and you're like, okay, well, Ayton's gone, and then Al Horford signed somewhere else, and the Lakers are trying to make these trades, and no teams are making trades for them, or they make a trade and they just get absolutely fleeced, or whatever the case. People are like, what? You gave up how much for Nick Richards? Or I'm just using that as an example. It's a very interesting time here for Pelinka, as I've mentioned this before. He's had a tendency, in my eyes, to overpromise and underdeliver. And I think this past summer, he talked about, at the exit meetings right after the Lakers got eliminated, him and JJ Redick did an exit meeting, and they did it in El Segundo at the Laker headquarters there. And I was there, and I got a chance to listen to Rob Pelinka. And Pelinka's basically saying how critical the offseason is going to be, and how there's going to be a lot of movement, how excited they are, and they know what they need to address, and all that stuff. If we get to July 5th and he has not been able to put together a roster, just a manageable roster, I'm not telling you to put together a championship contender. I've said this a couple different times, and, unfortunately, I really do believe this. I feel like LeBron and Luka competing for an NBA championship this upcoming season in that Western Conference does not sound like that's something that's realistic. But if you can't just put together a roster where you got a couple big men that are serviceable big men, that then you could allow LeBron and Luka to try with their expertise to work the best with what you've given them. If you're not able to add another wing piece, if you're basically just looking at the roster and you're like, I was listening to Bobby Marks on Dan Patrick, and Bobby Marks was, I don't even think they're top 5, top 6 in the Western Conference. Oh, I agree with him on that. You go take the West right now. This is why I have a difficult time when people are like, Lakers have to go all in. Tell me what all in means, and tell me where you see them in the Western Conference. Are the Rockets better than the Lakers? Yes, they are. Is OKC better than Lakers? Of course they are. Are the Denver Nuggets, with some of the moves that they've made, better than the Lakers? I think they are. Is Dallas, I know the big question is always going to be, if healthy, is Dallas better than the Lakers? I think they are. That's 4 teams. Minnesota took you out in 5 games, and you still haven't been able to address some of the needs that you have. They're not better than 5 teams in the Western Conference as we sit here today. And I'm not even 100% sure. Okay, let's say they got DeAndre, and are they now all of a sudden, where does that take them? Do they jump a couple of steps? Probably not. We'll have to see when the season plays out and go from there. LeBron will be a year older and everything else. But I'm looking at this team, and there's so much spotlight on Rob Pelinka right now. And I think that if you're asking the question of, hey, Rob Pelinka actually knows what he's doing, and the reason why this is taking a little bit longer is because they're going to end up with Ayton, and then he's got a plan for a backup big, and then he's also got a plan because he's going to do something with Miami. He's bringing Andrew Wiggins here. All that stuff needs to happen in the next couple of days. And I mean, I guess it doesn't technically need to happen in the next couple of days, But my concern is we could be sitting here in a few days and Rob could really have not put together a roster that you feel like gives the Lakers any chance of competing. Forget competing for a championship. I'm talking about just competing. And then you got the LeBron kind of angle of this where he wants to compete for a championship. Well, certainly that's not the case with what the Lakers have done so far. And then what happens as the rest of the offseason plays out once you have that wrinkle that still has to get figured out. Not a good offseason so far for Rob. The best story for Rob Pelinka at this point is we're still relatively early. We're still relatively early. So I just, I guess from my perspective, I think most people are going to be very frustrated with Rob Pelinka, and I understand where they're coming from. And I'm not, trying to, argue against that. What I'm just saying is let's see what happens in these next couple of days. All right, let's see what else we have here. By the way, I see this one. Somebody had put out here, Lakers need to get Kai Jones less than $5 million a year. I got a difficult time thinking that the Lakers and the Dallas Mavericks are going to be making a trade anytime soon. David C. Ayton is not it. His team is paying him to go away. That's how bad he is. David, I that's what I keep kind of cautioning. I'm reading articles out there. Ayton's not leaving on good terms in Portland. He's not. So he's going to have some repairing to do if he does end up a Los Angeles Laker. Let's see what we got here. Ricky, would it be legal for LeBron to restructure his deal for his desired trade partner? I'm going to come back to that one. Because I want to get into LeBron and let me come back to that. I appreciate the super brother. I'll come back to that. Amir, 5 spot for Amir. Thank you, Amir. I appreciate you. The whole wait until 2027 ordeal irks me. Yeah, I'm not 100% sure about that one either. The problem in today's NBA, you can't really wait for free agents. You can't, because a lot of these free agents are getting locked up before they become free agents. Really, honestly, the thing that you wait for is when a player demands he wants to get traded. That's kind of that's more the opportunistic moment, is when situations like that arise. Not, this guy's going to become an unrestricted free agent. I think the days of 4 or 5 top players available in free agency, you can have a class in 2027 that's like, wow, look at this class that's available. And you could also have, hey, a lot of these guys got signed. Let me list out. I want to list out those 2027 free agents that the Lakers would technically be waiting for. By the way, that's part of the reason why Dorian Finney-Smith, no, we're not signing you to 4 years. We're not doing that because exactly that reason. Well, first off, I don't think they should be signing him to 4 years anyways. And the other reason why is they want to have cap space for 2027. Other names set for free agency that summer: Giannis Antetokounmpo, Karl Anthony Towns, and Donovan Mitchell. The Giannis thing is going to be interesting. That I don't argue at all. Giannis is going to be interesting. I don't know what Giannis is going to do. I'll talk about Giannis in a second. Let me just actually mention this here real quick. We saw what went down earlier today. They went out and got Miles Turner. Does anybody think the Milwaukee Bucks are a championship favorite? I know the East has an open window right now, but stretching Dame for 5 years at $22 million a year, I don't think that's a great move. You're going to have him on the books for the next 5 years rather than the next 2 years. That's number one. And is Miles Turner the missing piece there? Miles Turner was the 4th or 5th best player on the Pacers. I mean, honestly, and I'm not even knocking on Miles Turner. I mean, if Miles Turner came to the Lakers, I'd be very excited about it. But is Miles Turner going to be the missing piece in Milwaukee? I don't think what happened today, Giannis is all of a sudden going to say, that's it. I'm retiring a Milwaukee Buck. Unless there's agents that are talking and there's other people behind the scenes that are saying, hey, slow down. Don't, slow down on adding all this money. I got a player that has interest in playing in Los Angeles and playing with the Lakers. Unless that's happening behind the scenes, that one's going to be a tough one to figure out. All right. But I understand why it would irk you. It irks you for a number of reasons, and it makes a lot of sense. It's just so far down the road. And if that's going to be the case, if you're starting to game plan for 2027, then I got to be honest, then start holding on to all these assets. Don't keep your draft picks. Don't try to win this upcoming year to be a 5 or a 6 seed and then be knocked out in the first round. Because that has been the Lakers' kind of nemesis here, is they don't have any assets. I mean, they get rid of their assets as fast as you can possibly imagine. And I'm already seeing people saying, well, trade 2031, and then next year you could change 2033. At some point in today's NBA, you got to draft and you got to develop. That's also important in the NBA. And I would rather have a front office that has fans screaming at them and telling them how stupid they are, and that the front office has no idea what they're doing, but they're actually holding on to assets and they have a game plan, and they're basically telling everybody, this is why we get paid, and we'll figure out in the next 3 years when the Lakers are competing for an NBA championship or they're cropping their own players, and all you fans out there are going to apologize because we have structure and we know what we're doing. I think the Lakers are stuck in the middle. They're like, yeah, we want to win, but we also want to preserve everything for 2027. We want to make sure LeBron's happy, but we also don't want to give LeBron what he's looking for because that's going to screw us for down the road. They're just like stuck in the middle. And I don't think being in the middle is a good place to be. Okay. So if Pelinka's plan for the Lakers is to tank the next years for high draft pick, what the hell? By the way, I'm not telling you that's his plan. I think he does understand, and unless he's got this agreement with Luka, where Luka's like, hey, don't worry about it. You're good. If this takes a couple of years, it takes a couple of years. But I don't think Luka was just in the NBA Finals. You think Luka wants to sit around for a couple of years and not have a competitive team? I don't think that's in the best interest of Luka Doncic either. Okay, I'm going to go back to this here real quick, and I'm not sure how much from a just how long we go today. I'm going to get to some of these comments, but I just want to bring this topic up here real quick. LeBron's obviously been a conversation the last couple of days. The moment he extended and he took that 52.6 or whatever that dollar amount was, immediately it was like LeBron's all over the news. And you know, what does he want and what is he going to do? And is he asking for the Lakers to be traded? Is he putting the Lakers on notice, and he's putting a ton of pressure on them for a number of different reasons? He wants to compete over the potential final couple years of his time in the NBA. So I was listening to the Zach Lowe podcast, and they were having a conversation about LeBron. And there really are just kind of a couple of options. One thing was brought up, and I hadn't even really paid any attention to it, but maybe now people are paying attention to it because it just happened to Dame. I don't know if LeBron opting into his 52.6 and then telling everybody that he still wants to compete. And he understands that they want to rebuild with Luka. And he understands that the timetable is different, but he wants to end his career competing for a championship. Is there a world where LeBron was trying to signal to the Lakers, buy me out? Was there a world where LeBron is, listen, I was great business for you over those 7 years that we were together. We won an NBA championship together. I helped bring Anthony Davis here. If you can't put together a real contender, buy me out. I can't see a world where the Lakers would look at LeBron James and say, LeBron, we'll buy out your 52.6. You go pick and choose wherever you want to play and go try to win that NBA championship. There is just no benefit to the Lakers other than being really nice guys. And I don't know if being really nice guys is in the best interest of your organization and, you know, your future. The only good thing for the Lakers when it comes to LeBron opting into that 52.6, if he's not happy with the Lakers and he demands a trade, They're going to get assets back. They're going to get some players back. I'm not telling you they're going to get the greatest thing ever, the greatest package. LeBron is 40 years old. He'll be 41 by the time next year starts, or by the time you get to December, and by the time you get to 2026. So I'm not telling you that, there is this perfect situation that is teed up for LeBron. But one of the advantages of LeBron saying, hey, I'm going to take that $52.6 million, I'm going to opt in, and then I'm going to bitch and complain that this roster is not good enough, is he lost a lot of his leverage. The only leverage that he had was, all right, I'm not opting in, and I'm going to become a free agent. I'm going to go sign wherever I want. And if it costs me $25-30 million, it is what it is. At least I'm on a team and I get a chance to compete. What I don't think is going to happen, and this is not what the podcast was saying, Zach Lowe and them were not saying, hey, this is what the Lakers are going to do, anything like that. But it just brought up a conversation to me that I'd never even kind of thought, because there is just no benefit to the Lakers of doing that, other than they say, brother, we made hundreds of millions of dollars off of you. Our partnership together was so incredibly lucrative. Yes, we'll buy you out for 52.6. Thank you for your time. We shake hands. Now you're an unrestricted free agent and can go choose wherever it is that you want to play. And I'm not, that it doesn't have to be for $52.6 million. It could be, okay, well, Lakers pay 30 and LeBron eats 20, and then he tries to go get, whatever 20 there. But teams don't have this money anymore. I mean, the money is basically getting eaten up. Free agency is obviously flowing. So that is not something that I obviously feel like is going to happen. And there would be no angle for the Lakers. There'd be no reason for the Lakers to do that. So to answer this question from a super that we got a little bit earlier, would it be legal for LeBron to restructure his deal for his desired trade partner? No. The only way is if he had the Lakers to help him and they buy him out, and whatever dollar amount that they agree to, like Deandre Ayton took $10 million less. Portland gave him 25.5 to say, okay, you don't have to play with us this year, but we need an incentive. And the incentive was, I'm going to take 10 less million. Then Ayton's going to go into the market and he's going to go try to make up that $10 million somewhere else, or he's going to do it for $8 million with the Lakers. And okay, he's had a net loss of $2 million, but he feels like with the Lakers, this is the right place. I could potentially work another contract in the NBA and I'm investing in myself. Or he's going to go sign with Indiana and get $14 million. He's actually net positive $4 million from what his contract was in Portland. So I hope that helps kind of clarify some of that. Is it this passive-aggressive approach that led to a lot of this? If he wants to go, get what you can and good riddance. Pelinka has to go, though. Pelinka's in a, that's a weird situation. And I'm going to let the offseason play out before I tell you that Rob Pelinka is not the right person for the job. And by the way, he may very well not be the right person for the job, but it's July 1st. Let's let the offseason play out before, everybody just continues to pile on him. It's going to happen either way. But okay, the Pelinka has to go. Let's let things play out before that portion gets figured out. The portion that you mentioned here, if he wants to go, get what you can and good riddance. Yeah, I think, this is going to kind of fall on LeBron's shoulders. If when the dust settles, he's not happy with the situation. I said this yesterday. He should request a trade. He should. And if he requests a trade, then the Lakers can say, okay, then we're going to go. We'll take a look at the rest of the league and we'll find out what teams. Rich Paul had a comment. I forgot who he said it to, that 4 teams had already reached out to him about a potential, trade with LeBron. All right. If, again, you opted into your 52.6, I think the Lakers have been very, very fair with LeBron James. I think LeBron has also been very, very he's helped the franchise out a ton, and we know where the Lakers were before LeBron rejoined the Lakers and they won an NBA championship with him. If it's time to shake hands and move on, then he should request a trade. And we'll see if we get to that point. Or this is LeBron just trying to show some power, or, upset that he doesn't have as much control as he wish he had. Or maybe he asked the Lakers for a 1+1 and they're like, we're not giving you another 1+1. I would just opt into this contract because we're not giving you anything else after this. It could be a number of different reasons. I think there's a lot of Laker fans that are also like, all right, well, if it's time to go, then it's time to go. I genuinely feel that. And we'll see. Luka is not staying. No way. I don't think he's going anywhere. There's been all indications is Luka's gonna try to be whatever he was in Dallas, and he was a superstar. He's going to try to put that on steroids with the Lakers, and it's going to be up, obviously, to this Lakers front office to build around him. But Luka's this is the next chapter. I mean, you guys know for the Los Angeles Lakers, you can go back for so long. It's Wilt Chamberlain, it's Jerry West, and obviously you go back further than that. Elgin Baylor, it's George Mikan, even further than that. It's the Showtime era with Kareem and Magic and James Worthy. It's Kobe and Shaq. It's Pau Gasol. It's Anthony Davis. It's LeBron James. These are all chapters in Lakers history. Luka's that next chapter. And whoever it's going to be with, I'm not sure. What it's going to look like in a couple years, I'm not sure. I just don't see Luka going anywhere. I think Luka knows what the power of LA is, what the power of the brand is, what the power when the Lakers are rolling. There ain't another brand in sports that's as powerful. They're good. They're phenomenal. You know, you could think of Alabama football. You could think of the New York Yankees. You could think of Manchester United. You could think of Barcelona. You could think of Dallas Cowboys. When the Lakers are rolling, it doesn't get much bigger than the Los Angeles Lakers, and Luka understands that. He's an international superstar, and he found his way to the Lakers because the Dallas Mavericks thought they couldn't win a championship with him, and the Lakers benefited off of that. So Luka is not staying, no way. I think there are plenty of reasons why he will stay, and I think he's going to be here. Let's see what we got here. If you listen to Pete from Lakers front office, he specifically says it's not all Pelinka, but Tim Harris has a lot of influence with basketball decisions. That will change once Walter and company comes in. Pete would know more than I would. And I've interacted with Tim Harris in the past, you know, obviously when I was part of the Lakers radio broadcast. And even when I was on the business side of 710 ESPN, definitely interacted with him. But Pete would know better than I would in regards to that. So I trust Pete's opinion. I will say it has seemed like with the Lakers, there's a lot of cooks in the kitchen, right? I think that's fair to say. And I do agree. When new ownership kind of officially takes over, I don't think it's going to be like that. I think it's going to be much more structured. It's going to look much more like a Fortune 500 company where people are walking in with their suits and their ties and they're shaved and it's all, you know, it's all about the numbers and their spreadsheet. It's just going to be, it'll be less family run. You know, I think if you look at some small businesses out there, and the Lakers, of course, are not a small business, and neither is the Buss family, but compared to other sports franchises, you think of small businesses out there and it's like, hey, the kids came into work. Hey, the dog is running around the office. I don't think it's going to be like that when, you know, obviously they completely take over. Let's see what we got here. Appreciate this. Thank you. I appreciate the super, brother. Thank you very much. I got some supers here I'm going to get into. Let me get into a couple supers here, but thank you. I really appreciate you sending that. All right, let me see where I'm at here. Jeremy. Ayton wouldn't be +4. He only gets 50% more than what he gives up at the buyout. So if Indy gives him 14, he is +2. Here's how I understand it. And if I'm wrong on how I understand it, all right, you can educate me. But here's how I understand it. He's going to get his money back. And if it's with the Lakers, he's going to get $8 million. That's the most that the Lakers, once they sign Jake LaRavia, the most they can offer him is $8 million. There's other teams out there that will have more space and they can offer him more. That's how I understand it. And that's me talking to That's me talking to Pelinka, Eric Pincus yesterday. Thank you for the super, Jeremy. I appreciate you. Let's get another one in here. Top dollar. It's not about this free agency. It's the people available. Bob Myers, Masai Ujiri. Half the league won't trade with Rob, and he is too reactive. Yeah, I mean, one of the biggest trades that will ever go down involved Rob Pelinka. You know, it's funny. Back to that Zach Lowe podcast for a quick second. They're having the conversation, and they were trying to, I think take away. They were taking any credit away given to Rob Pelinka. I understand it. You can make the case like, okay, did he really have anything to do with LeBron? Did he really have anything to do with Anthony Davis, or was that LeBron and Rich Paul working their magic? Did he really have anything to do with? Did he really have anything to do with Luka? That's Nico Harrison, and Nico Harrison is the one that called him. I will tell you they have a relationship, so that part helps a lot. I don't think you can pick and choose when you want to give somebody credit. I think when something goes down and that person is involved, good or bad, then they have to get credit or they have to get criticism. I think both have to happen. You can't pick and choose. Yeah, I want to give him credit now. And yeah, I definitely don't want to give him credit for that. I don't think that's fair. I don't think that's fair. All right, let's get to a few more comments here, and we'll keep things rolling. Let me see here. Shams. We'll refresh on Shams, see if anything happens. Nope, he's still doing the Shai Gilgeous-Alexander for $285 million. By the way, if Shai is making $285, if Shai is making $285, what are these owners making? My God, what are these owners making? They are absolutely killing it. If they're paying $285 now, and this is obviously part of the new media rights deal, and the players get whatever percentage and they're maxed out. Can you imagine what some of these owners are making? Okay, as we always do, and yesterday I was down at their studio. Shout out to Brad Wallace and the Wallace firm. Injury attorneys located in Southern California. They can help anybody in the state of California. Wrongful death case, serious injury. You're not sure what to do. You're kind of a little bit panicking here. You're in a situation or a predicament, or a family member's in a situation or a predicament. Really happy to have Wallace firm and have Brad Wallace a part of the partnership. We created a URL, wallacewins.com/Sliwa, wallacewins.com/Sliwa. You can go on the website. It's a free consultation. I can make a personal introduction to Brad Wallace. You could send me an email, allensliwa@gmail.com, and you could just ask, hey, Al, do you mind introducing me to Brad Wallace? I'm in a certain position, situation. He'll be able to help you. You're not obligated to do anything. Like I said, he can help anybody in the state of California. It's daunting. It's intimidating. You're not really sure what's your first step and what's your first move. I could tell you what your first move is. Brad Wallace and the Wallace firm, wallacewins.com/Sliwa, wallacewins.com/Sliwa. So shout out to them for the partnership and obviously be involved with the channel. All right, let's get to a few more of these comments here. We'll go all the way up to, we'll get to an hour here and then we'll call it a day. Luka is desperate to win now. Okay. I see Giannis with Luka. Can I tell you something? I don't think that that's the most far-fetched thing out there. I think Giannis has given Milwaukee a chance and an opportunity. Hey, what can you do? I really want to compete. There was a report out there from Chris Haynes that he was not happy that the Milwaukee Bucks bought out and stretched that contract over 5 years for Dame Lillard. I don't know how much I believe that. I don't think the Milwaukee Bucks make any move without calling Giannis Antetokounmpo and saying, hey, you good with this? Here's why we're going to do it. Then we're going to go out there and get Miles Turner. And then, this will at least give us at least a different look that we can go compete. We lost Brook Lopez, but this is how we gained a different player that's younger that we feel like can be more effective. But the Giannis and Luka thing in LA, I don't think there's a 0% chance of that. I just don't think it would happen this summer. I don't think it would happen now. But do I think if you told me in 2027 Giannis was a Laker, again, this is not predicated on anything. I've just heard Giannis say certain things about big markets, especially when Luka got traded. I think his time in Milwaukee will eventually come to an end. And I don't think the roster that they're putting together for him is now going to be a team where he feels like, okay, now I got a legitimate chance to go win a chip. We'll see what happens. Maybe it never comes to fruition, but I don't think it's crazy. I really don't. I really don't think it's crazy. SGA raised the bar for Luka to win now. Hopefully. I hope so. I mean, we saw all those articles that were out about Luka getting into shape and this. I mean, I've already expressed with you guys before. I mean, those articles kind of bother me because in my head, I'm like, Luka, there shouldn't be articles talking about how you're in shape. You should be in shape. I mean, that's part of your job is to be in shape, and we'll see what happens from there. All right, let's see what we got here. Looking at something right here on Hoops Hype, let me just see. There remains the possibility of trades that can bring changes to Miami's roster. Terry Rozier and Wiggins are two players who the Heat have explored trading this offseason, according to league sources. All right, so not really anything crazy there. This is coming out of an article in the Miami Herald. So we'll see if, I know Wiggins has been tied to the Lakers. I just saw that on Hoops Hype, so I thought I'd read it kind of blindly here. And we'll see if they're able to put some kind of deal together with the Lakers. I feel like Lakers are hesitant to make a trade for a guy like Andrew Wiggins until they figure out their center spot, which I think is wise. I don't think they should do anything until they figure out their center spot. Okay. Take a look here at a few more comments. Bet Luka wins multiple championships here. But we just start with one and then go from there. Start with one and then figure it out. I think the idea and the concept of multiple championships. Hey, he's the one. Remember when Mark Walter takes over ownership, he put out a statement. He said something towards the effect of he put championships, not a championship. He's the one that's a championship. So you know what his expectations are as well. And he's not putting that out and then deciding on August 2nd he's not going to re-sign with the Lakers to a long-term extension. Paying $10 billion for the Lakers, you better believe they're going to be spending on the best players going forward. Remember, it's not about spending on just players. Really what it's about is spending on your front office, spending on your president of basketball operations, getting a phenomenal general manager, getting the best scouting in the NBA. It's not just spending on players. It's spending on your front office. It's spending on your structure. If you run a business, it's not just having, one area of your company where you spent money. You got to start from top to the bottom, and there is no salary cap when it comes to that. Braun wants Bryce drafted to LA. I think all those days are over. I think the days of, that portion of it, because we've seen some quotes out there before. I think LeBron is realizing that the franchise is clearly letting him know, buddy, we've had a phenomenal run, but we can't keep doing things that you want. And we also have Luka Doncic here, and we're going to start paying attention to how the hell we can figure out how to build around this guy. Okay, just a quick recap. Thank you all for being here, and I appreciate you guys hanging out. We hit on still potential bigs that the Lakers can trade for. Latest on Deandre Ayton and what happens in his situation. We know that there's going to be a number of teams still with some interest from Deandre Ayton. I'm going to say this. I've said it before. I'm not telling you by any stretch of the imagination just because if they got Ayton, all of a sudden all their problems are solved, but certainly feel a little bit more comfortable walking into it. We hit on Pelinka. We hit on LeBron. And then we hit a little bit on that Miles Turner to the Bucks. Let me see this comment here. Thunder, Rockets, and Nuggets are the elite teams in the West. San Antonio is going to be as well. I have no disagreement with any of this right here. I think those are your top three teams. I think also watch out for Dallas if they're healthy. We'll see about Minnesota. But they've obviously got to the Western Conference Finals 2 years in a row. I'm not as sold on Minnesota, but you got to give them respect for accomplishing what they have. What's the appeal of Wiggins? You'd rather have Rui over Wiggins. I think just because he's another wing and they need wing defenders. I think that's really the appeal. I don't know if they thought they're going to keep Dorian Finney-Smith and they're going to get Rui as well. Maybe that changes a little bit now, but I think that's the appeal. More upside with Wiggins, more consistency with Wiggins. I think that's part of the appeal there. Okay, back on tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. like I mentioned. Bobby Marks, front office insider for ESPN, is going to join the show. If you're new to the channel, welcome. Thank you for being here. Just ask that you subscribe to the channel. It would be phenomenal to have as many people subscribe that are here and help grow this channel. So thank you for being a part of the show tonight. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. I will see you guys tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. Thank you, everybody. Have a great rest of your night.